Right, Alex, do you want to do an intro this time?
Bro, I'm banned from intros.
Wow. Okay.
I can't talk. I'm like,
Right, well that is the intro. So, welcome back people. We have Mr. Joe Gann on today. We're going to go through more so a little bit of structure this time rather than, you know, just a free ball and chat. But obviously a few tangents in here as well. Building online coaching business, social media presence, and then obviously competing. As you can see, I'm outnumbered here by MP guys, so humbling. So yeah, that's going to be a recurrent topic. So again, if I'm more quiet in this one, probably due to that reason. So yeah, let's kick it off. Joe, introduce yourself.
I'm Joe. I am an online coach. We live in Manchester. Competitive men's physique athlete. As of the last couple months, did my first show about a month ago now. Won the overall, had a regional, which was a great result. Wasn't expected, so you know it was an amazing experience to be part of. And then also went to the Empro Classic this just gone weekend, the pro qualifier. Got second in my class, which was also great. Obviously, as like when I actually got off stage, I was like so gutted. I almost cried because you know all like the emotions and everything. And I'm not one for like being like that because I'm not a sore loser at all. But it was just like the whole adrenaline of everything, and then you know you always want to win, don't you? Yeah. But then when I actually had some retrospect and I was thinking about it, I was like, I've done something pretty good there. You know, gone to a good top amateur show and came second my second time ever competing. So when I look back at it, I feel very accomplished, and we're going into a gaining phase now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, like due to the fact obviously you going abroad for it, you know what I mean, it kind of builds that excitement, that expectation. And because it was such a good show, like I haven't been there myself, but even like last year when Grace done it and seeing, I think Mike done it as well last year, and it just looks like such a sick show.
It was unreal, yeah. The way it was run as well, it's just like.
And you taking second in like a taller class, and knowing they were given three. Was it
just the overall winner? Yeah.
Someone told me it was top
the
three.
Amateur Olympia.
The week before, or the two weeks before.
Yeah,
that was when you had the passport issue, wasn't it?
Yeah. Right. But the thing that was like, it kind of like made me feel better is when I was looking at the lads in the overall, I know I wouldn't have won. So it's like, it's not like, oh, if I made it to the overall, I wouldn't have got my time. So it's like.
Was it the guy in your class who took it? No.
Okay. It's a short guy, but he looks insane. Right?
So see that on AJ's stories, I think it was like class D or something. He looked fucking good.
Yeah, there was a few very, very good lads there. And the guy that won, I was looking at backstage, was like, fuck, literally the nicest shape, very aesthetic as well. But yeah, the whole show was just run amazing. Like that just sets a standard of how it should be.
Yeah, and taking something like that really constructively, going to a very good show with a really high standard rather than I'll just do like, again with no disrespect, but like a smaller federation, local shows, and just taking wins there. It's great for confidence to look on social media and stuff, but at the end of the day, that's not where your
standard now is. Yeah, and I know
that's not where your goals lie.
It differentiates you as an athlete in terms of what it is you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's like actively putting yourself in a position of, I could lose here, but all I will gain is feedback in terms of where it is that I need to be, and coming across these boys where I just literally watching it at the weekend, the size of the guys, so big, so fucking big, so juicy, so capped, so like top line just full as anything. Some of their backs proper shit. Like that was a real interesting one. Everyone looked fantastic from the front. As soon as they turned around, it was like it's night and day between who was good or not. And like you got a great back shot, and like you just turn around and it was just like boom. You know, and it's just one of those things. It's like when you put yourself in that environment, if you're serious about wanting to be a competitor and competitive, you have to, even if you run the risk of losing, because it's not even a loss. It's like I know what I'm up to, and I know it's a risk.
Now I come off the back of that, and I'm so hungry that I'll never ever be more focused on that now, so I can see the end, like where I want to be. The feedback that I got was. The main thing is abs, deeper abs, which I have neglected, so it's one of those things that I have to just work on now, especially throughout the whole off-season, and fuller upper chest, which I knew anyway. So these are two things that I already knew, so it's just, the original goal was to then go to Portugal in 3 weeks, try again, because there's free cards, but I just think, well, I'm not going to get deeper abs, I'm not going to get a bigger chest in that time, so what's the point? I'm just going to run myself into more fatigue, spend another absolute fortune, and then that's that. I've only been on blast for like 10 weeks as well, so I've got plenty of runway to, you know, to have a good rebound.
Nice capitalise on the back of that.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that's one of the things as well, is you got to cut your losses, and like, I commend people that chase their pro card because they're hungry for it, but I also think you have to cut it at some point and realise now may not be the time, because at some point it will all fall into place and it will come to fruition.
And it's not my first season, so
bro,
plenty of time.
You got a 2 bros overall. I don't know 2 bros overall. So 2 bros you're watching. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like you've done more in your first season than most, like probably 99% of competitors.
Yeah. When I was like looking at that stage, I was like, I can guarantee I'm probably the only person here. This is my second time competing. Everyone was like so seasoned. Yeah. So I said from day one, even when I was there at Alicante, I was like, no matter what happens, no matter what the placing is, I've won, because it was an amazing time there. Like it was so nice being there, seeing other competitors, like being in the mix. And it's just, I just felt amazing coming off the back of it. And it's the hunger and focus that I've gained from it is invaluable. So now
it's kind of like irrespective of how long you've actually like been competing. You know what I mean? It's how long you've actually been like being a bodybuilder and just doing the do on a consistent basis. Because like you've been fucking on it from day one. You know what I mean? And like even this prep itself. Like your first show that was planned is still 2-3 weeks away.
Well, yeah, my original plan was to have my first show July 15th, which is not even here yet. So.
Exactly. Bro, you'd be literally
it's like, I just decided to jump in, take an overall, and then take second at fucking Empro Classic. You know what I mean? So,
and then I reversed into my actual first show. Sound.
Well, again, like we're talking about there, like you can't just diet your way to like the physique that you want, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it's bodybuilding. You need to make sure there is tissue there. If there isn't, no amount of dieting is going to make that up, even in that short period of time. Like, say short period, but like 3 weeks is enough to get, you know, a good bit more condition, but condition wasn't the issue.
Well, yeah, I was, you know, I was as conditioned.
And equally, like 3 weeks of reversing isn't going to fill those gaps either.
Yeah.
So,
and I know with it, the thing is with it, my off seasons, say for example, my last off season, sure, the last 6 months were very focused. I'm in this environment, we've got all our pals here, you know, it's super controlled. Even the first 6 months, you know, I just moved here, it was distracting, just gone through a breakup. My food, I wasn't pushing my food, drugs were like literally like, I think it was Testy, 300 milligrams, that's it. You know, so like, I've never really pushed a hard off season, so like this time now, from now to next year, I know I can take my physique to the next level with like, this level of focus. Like my life from prep to now in the off season does not change. Like the only thing is just more food, you know, and just progressing more in the gym. Like everyone's still on prep. Like, all my mates are still on prep. Margot's still on prep. Like it's not like I can start going off plan and doing all this shit. Like my life does not change.
But I think that's the reality though, is that when you've had the taste of what it is that you need to accomplish and you step out of prep, exactly what I'm going through right now, I'm basically in maintenance. Like I can't put much more size on and I can't blow out and get fucking fat. So it's like what it is I want to do compared to the fact I know I'm going to be on stage again in a couple of months' time. It's like I can't physically go and change my mindset. So I feel like myself right now, it's like I'm literally just maintaining. And it's a really weird feeling. It's savage. But it's like, I need to do that because like that's like, you have to act like a pro before you become a pro. And I think it's that mindset of actually having control over yourself that differentiates yourself between other people, which is like post-show blow up.
Binge.
And we've had this conversation before and it's like, we don't want to do that. And I think the more experience you get and the more your goals align with actually being able to accomplish it, then you realise what it is you need to
It's the contrast between your goals and your values, you know what I mean? Because you can set this goal of, right, I have this show in 12 weeks time, I'm going to be dialed in, whatever. Once that you've achieved that goal, or if you haven't achieved it, regardless, once you pass by that period of time and you don't have a next upcoming goal, you're going to live based off your values. And if your values aren't aligned with, you know, actually being a bodybuilder, staying on track, wanting to see progress, and you're just goal driven towards that show, it's going to be fucking tricky afterwards.
That's what separates people who have a true passion for it and who are just doing it for clout or followers or likes, whatever. Because if it was in the back of my head, if I was to go, well, start eating all this shit, like, I've literally barely had anything like that. I finished my show, I had a burger, and then the next day I had a pizza because we were in Alicante. Nothing else. I come back here and I'm just on one plan. Because in the back of my head, I'm like, if I start eating all this shit like cinnamon buns, all this muffins constantly, I'm then just going to get fat and then I'm just going to ruin my off season for next. I'm thinking next year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're already a year in advance.
Yeah, I'm thinking long term, and I think that's what you have to do, really.
Yeah, completely agree on.
So you mentioned there about obviously moving up here to Manchester, taking that kind of risk, backing yourself, and building the whole social media presence. Obviously, there was a bit of a fucking step back during that time as well. But yeah, let's discuss that, because obviously there's a good few people who are, you know, like new to online coaching or want to get into it, get loads of questions like, what should I do to, you know, become an online coach? I think you're a very like ethical coach. Obviously, leading by example is a massive thing. That's pretty much the first thing I'll say to anyone who asks that question. Yeah, let's talk about, you know, moving up here, taking that chance.
Yeah, so, well, I was living in Eastbourne, which was a great place to grow up, and had a lot of fun there and enjoyed it. But came to that point where it's like I needed to expand, and I just wanted to take a step towards something new and just try something new in my life. I always lived in, you know, that town, had the same sort of, you know, entry-level jobs, etc. And then I took the chance and quit my job at a bank to pursue my online coaching. But before that, I think the best thing I say to anyone is set foundations for your online coaching. So rather than just you're posting, you know, out with your mates and then all of a sudden, online coaching, buy my plans. You need to be putting out valuable content for ages. Like I was posting like my own training, my own informative content for like 3 years before I even started online coaching. Just because I loved it. I liked putting out content. I like content creation. I like, you know, putting out information, like valuable stuff, helping people. Yeah, and I'd have people, because I used to be a PT like 10 years ago, one-to-one, but I went on a different path. And I would still be helping people in the DMs, like with macros, like workout plans, just because it was fun. I liked doing that. And then came to the point I was like, I should probably capitalise on this, instead of doing it for free. But then, obviously, when I thought, do you know what, I'm going to start coaching. When I put out the feelers, like, right, is anyone interested? Right, vote yes if you'll be on. I'd already been posting and putting out informative stuff for like 3 years, so people knew what I was about. They knew that I had a passion for it, so there was interest. Rather than I see so much at the moment, people like literally just their whole feed is them on the piss, or them on holiday, whatever, just, you know, doing nothing, and then all of a sudden, I'm now offering online coaching. It's like, who the hell even are you?
Their feed is like Amsterdam Music Festival, holiday, and then it's like a shitty little PowerPoint logo.
So
it's like, by the way, coaching now, and it's like,
as we all know, like gaining clients is not easy. Like, there's so much competition. You got to do everything right, and then you still might struggle. So, like for someone who has literal zero credibility, it's not as easy as putting a post up going, I'm looking for 5 males to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you might get a couple, but
even if you do it for free.
yeah, I did my first 5 for free, my mates, to get the results.
Yeah.
And then another thing is transform your own physique. If you transform your own physique, you can you know, say to people, you know, this is how I've done this, whatever.
I think I took like 3 people on for free at the start as well.
Yeah.
And one of them is still fucking with me. My mate Aaron, who could be last year. Obviously, he's still not getting coached for free.
It's like anything, physique development, business. You've got to do a lot at the start for little return. And then, if you have a passion for it, that's where it develops.
The thing is, it's an apprenticeship, you know what I mean? Like, I think I spoke about this with Ryan, I'm not sure if it was on the podcast. But if you think about, like, you know, there is scalability within online coaching. You see people, obviously a lot of them living in fucking Marbella, Dubai, whatever, good income, there's scalability there. But there's fucking years that go into it, and everyone thinks they deserve it yesterday.
Yeah,
like if you think about any other job, like when you were working in a bank, decent pay starting off, but like if you want to be a manager, you're there 4 or 5 years. Or if you want to go into a high paid job, you're doing a 4 or 5 year undergrad. You're doing a degree, maybe a fucking postgrad masters, and then you're kind of getting into a good job. Whereas people think, oh cool, I've been working in Tesco for 3 years, and I want to start online coaching, and I should be on whatever the numbers are, 30, 40, 50k. It really isn't like that, and there has to be that overlap of, like you said, giving value, being consistent, leading from the front.
And then it is consistency. Like even if your numbers are low, even if you're dropping clients, still be posting content, still be putting it out, because, or in a quiet period, there's always these quiet periods, Christmas, you know, during summer sometimes. There will be times where clients just don't join up, they've got low money, whatever. Or that's the most time you need to be putting content out, because then when that comes to an end, there is always an influx, like January, end of summer, and they're like, you're fresh in their head. You've been putting out content. They're seeing what you're about. Oh, I want to know my coach. I've seen Joe been posting throughout summer.
And it's not just those set time periods of like, you know, Christmas, January, whatever, summer. It's unforeseen stuff as well. So obviously COVID, increased cost of living. As you know, I mean, people are struggling. At the end of the day, it is a luxury. Obviously, you're going to highlight the value that you can gift during that period, but you still have to be as consistent as possible during that. You can't say, oh well, cost of living's going up, people won't want coaching, so there's like no need to put out
what's
content.
the point in posting? Yeah,
You know
that's
I mean?
the opposite. You want to double down.
One thing I started doing, like since I moved in here in January, like I have a spreadsheet and I'll do like a weekly check-in with myself. So like plan my content for next week, at least 3 posts a week, keeping track of how many followers I have, keeping track of how many clients I have, who drops off, new sign-ups, like make sure all that's trending in the right direction. Obviously you can put in your personal stuff as well, like savings, whatever, but I find that to be something I started doing recently where it's like, because obviously you can't see the exact like return on investment, you know what I mean? It feels like Groundhog Day, you're doing it repeatedly and you're like, have I actually like moved forward in the last
It takes
few
a
months?
long time for people to buy in.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be watching you for a long time.
Oh, yeah,
I get messages being like, I've been watching you for a year.
Literally.
And I'm like,
I'll have a tab.
why a year, bro? It's like, but I respect that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if that it's taking you a year to make a decision, people are looking for instant results. It's like wicked. So I know whatever it is I'm putting out now will capitalise. You know, same as competing. Whatever I'm doing right now will capitalise further down the line.
Another thing I'll do there as well is I'll have a tab where it has leads, so people who are, you know, engaging a little bit, and then, you know, try build conversations with them.
Yeah.
And then obviously that sounds a little bit salesy, but you know what I mean. It's keeping track of like the potential of, you know, who's engaging with your shit and actually then building rapport. But I think the biggest thing there is also, you know, like you said, it takes a year for them to actually buy into you. They have to know you, so you need to get that across. They buy into you as a person. You have to get your personality across, and again, it's uncomfortable. I hate that. I'm finally getting somewhat consistent with it, but the best way to do that is probably YouTube.
Yeah,
you know what I
and
mean?
the best thing that I learned from like working with mentors and whatnot, say what you want about mentors, but they made me speak on camera, film informative stuff, or even just talk on my story about my day, updates and whatever, because then people like can see you actually talking. When it's just like a caption text, me looking intimidating in the gym, people, do you know what I mean? Like they just see like this photo of you with a pump and just some text. It's hard to connect.
It doesn't mean anything.
When you can actually talk into the camera, you can get a bit of your personality across, and you know that's when people actually start buying into you. Because you know people want to be coached by someone they actually relate to as well. Like, on a side note, I'm talking about like numbers and whatnot. I think it's quite easy to get wrapped up in constantly wanting more. Like it's like bodybuilding. We always want to be bigger, leaner, whatever. But like sometimes I have to take a step back, and if my numbers have held for a few weeks or whatever, and I just think, do you know what? This job allows me to train when I want, compete at the best of my ability with, eat when I want, I literally work when I want, even if I'm holding ground. That's a win. Because like you might work at, say for instance, I worked at a bank, I'll go 2 years with the same wage, and that's normal. But then for coaching, you're always wanting more, and it's quite can be like very anxiety provoking. And like, I am a sucker for that. I do get wrapped up in like always wanting more. So you got to sometimes take a step back and think. To be fair, life is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, that's the reality though. It's like, what is success? Is it financial, or is it being the flexibility to do what it is when you want to do it? Like we're sat here at 11 o'clock in the day, having a chat, and then you're going to train, and we've done work this morning, etc. So it provides you with that flexibility, and I would take flexibility of what it is I do with my fucking day to day over a solid salary any fucking day.
Like that book I'm reading there, The Psychology of Money, fucking fantastic book. And one of the main points in it is the biggest return on investment, the biggest asset that you own is the flexibility to do what you want with who you want, when you want, for as long as you want.
You can go, next week should we go on holiday? That's it.
Yeah. But also in the same note, and we have talked about this before, don't take the piss with that. Like especially if you do want to scale and you want to get busier, you have to have those systems in place. So
this is like
we have flexibility, but we also have our working hours.
Yeah, this is like down the line once you have like a stable sort of set of, in the early days, like, I don't think I had a day off in like a year and a half, 2 years, like where I didn't actually do something. Do you know what I mean? But then once you have your stable set of clients, you can actually take a step back and think, This life's pretty good.
Well, you know, don't just like say, okay, cool, I'll have a few check-ins. Like, I'm not really in the mood to do them now. I'll do them this evening. Like, it is still about the quality of service that you give.
Yeah.
So you do need to maintain that, and actually just provide what people are still paying you for.
And to be a good coach, it's never ending. Or learning, studying. Like, it's very easy to get complacent. Just do your check-ins, do your setups, and go, right, time to chill. Whereas it's one of those things where there's always new material to learn, there's always new things to be studying. So it is never ending, which is good.
But I think even alongside like the check-ins and just doing your responses and having structure to your day, like it is multifaceted in the fact that you've got to be creating content.
Yeah.
You've got to be doing your shit to develop yourself, as you just said. You also got to be training. You've got to be cooking, you've got to be eating, you've got to be doing all these million and one different things. That is a part of the job because it's showing face in terms of what it is that you're about as well. And it is showing that value in terms of this is how I structure myself, this is everything I do, and this is the outcome.
Yeah, because when I have clients, they say they're a coach and they're slipping off plan. I just think like, I always say like, you should treat this like your job. Your training, your nutrition is like your job. It's like going to work and they set you a task and you just go home without doing it. It's like that. And it should be taken out seriously. If you're a coach putting out content about, this is what you should do, and then you're behind the closed doors, you're slipping up and like missing cardio, eating off plan, you're just shit at your job. Simple answer.
Selectively harsh.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reality. We're talking about being selectively harsh on the type of individual it is, and like if it's your profession, you're an online coach and you're there fucking about eating off plan and doing whatever it is you want to do whenever it is you want to do it without much thought about it, then don't be surprised when your coach goes in on you, because you should be acting in accordance with it if it's your job.
Yeah, if I have a coach as a client or someone doing a photo shoot, I'll be a lot stricter on them because they're going down that route, and whereas for example on the flip side, say if I have a client who's a nurse or someone who works 12-hour shifts, labouring, something like that, I know it's not their complete and utter obsession, they're trying to get in good shape for a holiday. Sure, if they have an off plan at a weekend, or they miss a cardio session because they've done a 14-hour day at work, that's fine. I'm not going to belittle them for it. I have a lot of empathy for a lot of people with their professions, and certain times in life gets in the way. Yeah. But when you are a coach and we know how easy it is to structure our day around eating, training, when someone's then missing that, I'm like, what are you actually doing?
It's frustrating. Selective empathy, but I think it's not just for those who want to be a coach, but it's relative to the goals that you have set. Like whether you're a coach or not, if you say I want to get fucking peeled, I want to get on stage, I want to do a photo shoot, if you say those things, I'm going to treat you like someone who actually wants to do those things, which means I'm going to fucking pull you up if you're being lazy or missing meals or whatever it is, missing cardio sessions. So be very realistic with your goals, and even then, like if someone signs up, say they want to get in like sick shape for whatever next year, they actually talk about like having a bit of ambition, and then 4 or 5 months in and they say, I need to like pause for a couple of months because I have this going on. Like, were you expecting not to have any obstacles? Were you expecting everything else in your life to be static? And that's not how life works.
And and the thing is, it's our job. Like, if someone's eating off plan constantly, they're missing cardio, and then we're not being strict enough and pulling them up in it, we're shit on our job. They're paying us for accountability. I see that so many times. I say, for instance, like a really softy coach, and their clients are like always eating out and never making progress. They post a transformation and it's like, oh my god, look at this amazing transformation of my client. They literally look exactly the same. It's like they forget we have fucking eyes and can see that they haven't made any progress.
And it's usually just like a female who then gets high-waisted leggings.
Yeah, and it's like obviously it's very generalisation. It's very generalisation, but it's normally like the well-being like female coaches. It's like
she done all this while still
going out
the weekends,
doing whatever the fuck she wanted to do.
So why is
she didn't really follow a plan and she didn't make much progress?
So it's like, so why is she paying you? She could have done that without you. Do you know what I mean? She could just fucking pull up a training plan on Google and follow that.
So people want that like enabling as well. They don't just want accountability. They say they want accountability, but they just want someone to tell them, yeah, it's okay. Don't feel guilty about that. And I'm not saying people should feel guilty about going out. Like at the end of the day, it's your life. Choose to live it how you want, whatever your values are. But if you're saying that your goals are this and it requires that, and you're not following that, don't be upset when you don't get to your goals.
Yeah, because I have some clients that like their goals are just smaller. They might want to lose 5 kilos in the next 8 weeks for a holiday, or 10 kilos, and if they want to go out a weekend every weekend and do a little bit of calorie banking, very fine. Yeah, very sweet. That's fine. But then if you have a client who's like, I want to get absolutely skinless pill for a photo shoot, and then they're comport for a holiday, and then they're just eating off plan, then you have to be stricter, because you're like, what you're doing is not going to work if you carry on doing what you're doing.
What happened? Social media stuff, presence, consistency, we talked about that as well. I think another important thing is, getting your ethos across and being consistent with that. So not having conflict in what you're saying. Yeah. So again, this is why, I push the rebrand, you push the rebrand, Alex soon come. But having a clear and concise message, and then formulating your stuff around that. Because if you're constantly, and I've been guilty of this myself before, you know what I mean? I'll be doing content on female physiology, mindset, some that are more compassionate, and then I'll have some posts that are get your finger out of your ass. And although it is a matter of, there's a dichotomy there, you have to have both of those. If your content is conflicting with itself, you can't get that message across, and people don't know how to interpret you and what to relate to.
Yeah, that's what I learned with working with Ben Hawksworth massively, because at the start of the year, the previous year, I was all over the place with my clients. And by that I mean I would take on anyone. I had way more clients than I do now, but I was charging less because I was in that sort of mindset. It was numbers, but my demographic was anyone and everyone, and it was just very hard to try and pinpoint.
Stressful.
Hard to pinpoint content, and one day I'll be posting about female content, how to blah blah blah, and then other times it'll be you're not sticking to your plan, blah blah blah. So it's who is this guy? What is he about? Whereas now, when people sign up to me, they know exactly what I'm about. They know what to expect. They know they're going to have to graft. They know they're going to have to build discipline. And just by looking at your profile, you need to know what this person is about.
I think one of the best examples of that, love him or hate him, but Cuba. You know what I mean? No one signs up with fucking Cuba and is surprised by the coaching service. You know what I mean? The ethos is very clear. How he talks, it's a consistent message, and again, you're not going to have that same self-confidence to talk that way when you're starting out, and obviously you don't have as much of a grounding or foundation in what you're saying, and you do have to be a jack of all trades at some point, but just make sure it's not excessive conflict and post by post 2 different messages.
I think at the beginning it's good to sort of work with a good variety of people as well, because then you get the experience of working with different people.
You don't have
I've
the
worked with
being selective.
I've worked with literally every type of client, and now I know what type of clients I like to work with the most. Whether I have a very wide mix of male and female, but the thing that they all have in common is they're very driven and want to change. I don't work with people who are just constantly
half-assing.
Yeah, half-assing it. It doesn't matter whether you're super out of shape or a beginner or someone who's already a bodybuilder. I will work with both of them, but they have to have that mindset. I don't want to work with these people that are just I just want to train from home 2 times a week and want to go out 4 times a week, because it's just frustrating for me and I don't get enjoyment out of it, so I'd rather not.
I think that gets difficult and frustrating because of, and again this is going to be personal to who you are as a person and how that translates to you as a coach, how your values sit and how you view these, going off track or whatever. If you're very invested in what you're doing and then you're trying to coach someone who isn't as invested, it's difficult for you to kind of get that message across. You know what I mean? It's difficult to wear all these different hats and have that compassion for someone, even if it is their own goals. A lot of the time we seem more emotionally invested in our client's progress than they are.
That is frustrating.
I think that's the most frustrating thing. So that, not to say that that's never going to happen, that can happen, but I think also being aware of that and then, having a little mental time out and saying, let's calm down. Just because this person isn't, 100% dialed in, if you're not in a position where you can't be selective with who you're coaching, you have to kind of manage that as best you can. By, not getting fucking wound up by certain things.
Sometimes people are slow burners though. I've had clients that start really, really shit, and I'm like, God, they're going to be an absolute nightmare. And constantly slipping off plan, missing stuff in them, but just slowly they develop in 6-7 months time, they're just bang on. And they're the ones that you think, well, a more ruthless coach would have gone, get rid of you, but it does. With our job, you have to have a lot of empathy because not at the same time we have a very hardcore mindset, and it comes easy to us. but we're in a very small percentage, and it's sometimes easy to forget that not everyone's like us.
But also, we've built our way up to that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're very fucking
definitely
dialed in
wasn't
now.
always like that.
That's the thing, it's like, then when you see that in someone, I think that's one of the most rewarding things. Like, I don't give a fuck about someone's starting position. Obviously, if they come on board and they're like already mentally a bodybuilder, fucking win, I'll take that. Brilliant. But it's really cool as a coach to see someone who, you know, is relatively new to it. I think the biggest factor you'll see there is the people who are like asking questions.
Yeah.
Like they're actually intrigued, curious about it, and then seeing their progression. They could come in complete, like no-brainer, not understanding, you know, not even understanding how it's a flexible diet, not understanding like, you know, training, consistency, accuracy, whatever. But then in a few months' time, after them, you know, sending a lot of training footage through, asking questions, trying the flexible dieting stuff and like sending it back to you for feedback. That's something I do with clients. We're like, okay, cool. Like track your food and send me pictures of the meals, and then like tot these up yourself. You know, and work with them to try and get them. If that's something they want to do, work with them to kind of develop that. And then a few months later, you're like, shit, this person like is a bodybuilder.
Prime example of that is my client Paul Barnard. Came to me,
Yes.
155, 160 kilograms, morbidly obese, brink of death, literally in the worst possible situation, mentally, physically, and it was hard. He rang me the first day after a session, was like, I'm going to quit, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And I just spoke to him on the phone for like 20 minutes. I was like, if you don't do this, you're going to die. He said, well, put a pretty frank to it, because this is like the last call for help sort of thing. Now, fast forward over a year, just over a year, so not even that long, he is one of my most adherent clients. He's been on prep for a photo shoot for 20 weeks, has not had a single thing off plan, never skips cardio, never skips steps. So that just goes to show, like, yeah, someone who was literally in the worst position possible mentally, with literally zero discipline, can become, like, literally lives like a bodybuilder. Like, he is a bodybuilder.
But I think it's that their internal belief systems that have allowed him to get to that, and it's little wins along the way which have kind of enabled him by coaching to get to that point. Whereas if you were a yes coach, be like, if you want to quit, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's like by being somewhat brutal, he wanted you to enable him to quit.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was the first phone call. I want to quit, and you could have just turned around and said, yeah. But with us as coaches, I think we're all quite similar in that line. Is that it's like, no, you don't deserve that. It's like you come to
the easy way.
you don't get the easy way. Like
I've had a fair few people message me like, I want to cancel, and when you actually, it's an easy option to just go, all right, yeah, that's what I was.
Ask them what.
But like once you actually delve deep into why they want to cancel, and then you talk them through it, they might stay with you for another however long, and you transform them. It's that they have this panic, like, God, I can't do this.
It's too much.
Yeah, and then once you talk them down,
because it can seem overwhelming. You know what I mean? Especially for someone in that position who, like, you know, he was one session in to what was obviously going to be like a year, 2-year fucking plan to actually get him into a healthy position. It's going to seem like a fucking mountain, you know what I mean? But you're just saying, like, you don't climb a mountain by staring at the fucking peak. Like, you're staring at your feet, taking one step at a time. It's as simple as that. That's all you have to do. And again, we've seen the pictures, and fucking shout out Paul.
Sick.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
really
Honestly, good friends now, and looking forward to meeting them again.
Yeah, that's another one as well, actually, like building rapport with your clients.
Yeah.
Like the ones again who are engaging, it gets so enjoyable to actually go through that process. And it's not just like, oh, it's my client, I'm just gonna, like, you know, egg him on and build a nice relationship there to make sure he stays. It's very fucking genuine.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that happen.
The best results have come from my clients that really make an effort to build that rapport and talk to you a lot, communicate, you know, tell you a little bit about, you know, their own struggles in life or whatever, because then you connect, and then when you connect with the client, that's when you bring the best out of them. If they're just, you know, I have some clients that just check in once a week, barely any comms, still make good progress, but I think the best results have definitely come when you have make a proper connection.
It's the context behind it.
Yeah.
Because that kind of like fits everything.
It goes both ways, you know what I mean? It gets more enjoyable for you to coach them, and I'm sure for them to actually, you know, being in a comfortable position to communicate with you their personal stuff, I'm sure that they enjoy the process a lot more. My coach is actually like a really good friend. Like I know he was beforehand, but like me and Zach, I call like he's fucking proper good mate at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
like the lad I had a shoot with yesterday,
Aiden.
Yeah. Been coaching him for over 2 years now. I was coaching him during lockdown. He was like wearing garden gloves, lifting little dumbbells out in the snow, And then to see him like transform now to do a photo shoot, looking class, like he's come on so well, like seeing his life progress, it's very satisfying, like as a coach to work with someone like for so long.
Talking about MB caps,
Yes.
so I was chatting to Cal about this as soon as it came out. I went into full panic mode.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I bust my nuts for fucking years to get more. And the only other feedback I get is more this, more that, more this, more that.
Yeah.
It's never less.
Yeah.
Apart from
That's
legs.
the problem.
You know what I mean? But it's like more. And it's basically could be to the point now where you may outsize yourself, or a lot of the MP guys will have outsized themselves. So, because it's only coming, the MP cap's only coming in for pro athletes, and they've been heighting and waiting. And then they did a video, didn't they, for YouTube, where they showed a couple of MP athletes, and they were like, he could have made it on this particular day if he weighed in it this way. But it's like they don't know yet, and they won't be releasing it until after the Olympia.
Yeah.
So it kind of leaves this unknown period of everyone that's trying to become pro. You always get judged on that criteria, essentially. So it's like everyone that's big, the size game at the Empro Classic, you know, everyone's come through looking absolutely swole as fuck because they're trying to jump in before the cap comes through. So it is an interesting one. It will change the game massively.
Well, see, that would be, when they bring it in to the pro ranks, do you reckon they'll put the amateur cap on straight away, or it'll be like, you know, pros are now capped this, then a few months later or the following season it might be, you know, amateurs cap is obviously a little bit less, same way with classic. But I think, and this was my initial reaction, and I said it straight away, was a lot of this more so stemming from classic, because obviously there's a shit ton of people there struggling to make the cap. So it could be a matter of, you know, pushing the classic cap and then mirroring the new MP cap to the current classic one.
Yes.
Which I believe is going to be the case.
I reckon that's most likely going to be the case.
And they also said that they'll be not judging legs, but they'll bring in proportions into play. Like if you're super out of proportion, small legs will be knocked down. So that'll stop people like just atrophying their legs.
Because I think that is a factor. Like I know it's not in criteria right now, but I think subconsciously, you know what I mean? If you see someone on stage and their board shorts are fucking tight, it does. No. It does grab their attention. You know what I mean? Like even though you're not being judged for legs.
Symmetry.
Yeah,
It adds the symmetry.
yeah, it just grabs your attention. You know what I mean? Then obviously you're going to be paying more attention to them, and you might have a little bit of a subconscious bias to, you know, mark them a little bit better. So it probably is at play slightly right now, but to see that actually come to fruition, it'll be interesting to say the least. But yeah, I suppose like
wasn't that Mr. Olympia, he Banks, wasn't he like 118 kilograms on stage?
Was he?
Stage weight.
But he's like 6'4".
So like surely that he'd struggle.
Yeah, well that's the thing. It's like the fucking relative to your height. You know what I mean? It's usually the smaller guys in classic who are like struggling to make. Like,
It will
obviously
fuck,
bumps
it
will
will
be in the
fuck a
advantage.
lot of the class A to B.
Yeah.
They are going to be in
So
trouble because they're so dense
Yeah.
for their height. Like they are going to really struggle. I'm open D, so I'm literally just like on that borderline. So if it was, for example, the classic cap minus some, if they brought it in for amateurs, my classic cap for open D and my height would be 93 kilos.
Would it?
Yeah.
What were you on stage?
Because my
88.
Okay.
So minus like 4 or 5 kilos, I got to come in at the same weight. So it's like, this is why I'm in maintenance now. So it's just like, I can't realistically go
93 would be your pro cap.
amateur.
Amateur. Okay.
So you still got
Yeah.
5 kg to be.
But that's classic.
Yeah.
So then if the
Oh, I see, if they're lower.
if the amateur classic weight becomes the pro men's physique weight,
Yeah.
which is most likely because they want to keep that lower, I reckon.
Okay.
That's what they're talking about. That's what I've heard this from a few people now.
So
I could be completely wrong.
I thought it would have been, you know, amateur classic cap is now amateur men's physique cap, and they're going to increase the amateur cap.
No,
Okay, right.
because then they would have announced that they would have been increasing the classic cap.
Yeah, because they want to give people notice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think it would be that the pros or men's physique pro will be the amateur classic cap, which would create a big problem. And you're looking like 4 or 5 kilos minus that for amateurs, if and when they bring it in. So that's a sticky one still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of
You'd
those
be on the
things.
brink then, wouldn't
I'd be bang on.
you?
I'd be like diazide my tits off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to change the whole peaking protocol, everything.
Yeah.
There's no reversing.
Yeah.
There's no.
Won't be able to fucking-
No, but you got to dry in all the way through.
And that's the thing.
And then,
just ruin the look.
it's gonna. But this is the thing. They say they don't want it to look like classic. So if you hit a front double bicep, you shouldn't be able to look like classic.
Okay.
But you want me to build my legs. So if I took my shorts off, I'd hit front double bicep. I'd probably look classic anyway.
It's complicated.
But
With men's physique, like,
it's wild.
with men's physique, it's all about aesthetics. So the weight shouldn't really matter. Like,
No.
sure, so if you get someone coming in like an open bodybuilder in shorts, then don't fucking let them win.
Yeah.
Simple as. Like, if you don't want to reward it, then don't bring it. It shouldn't be about aesthetics. It shouldn't be about weight. Because some people are just way heavier than others. Like,
There's a couple of 212 guys have been coming down into men's physique to compete, and that's essentially like that was what the one World Pro show.
Yeah. So then a few weeks later, he done classic. He was in like Yemi and fucking Ryan Cartwright's class. Looked weird. I think
getting all the boxes.
Because I think that dude was it Thomas?
Yeah, something is foreign,
Eastern European dude. Was it Paul? Peter, I think. Yeah. I think he turned pro in classic or 212, and then done open, and then came down to MP, and then done classic again. Doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Bro's lost.
But like,
Bro's
pretty jacked.
well lost.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's trying to stop them.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I think for a lot of athletes, it's just that unknown of being like, it's the size game now.
Because if it is the weight cap, it's going to be a good bit of conflict. Because if we talk right now about like, you know, classic criteria, they seem to be rewarding that like bubblier, fuller look right now. You know what I mean? Like that's what you've seen with the dude too. You bet you with the Empro. Like you were leaner, you were better from everywhere apart from, you know, chest and I think Delta still had them.
Abs. Main thing they said was abs.
Chest, you know what I mean? But it's still that kind of like, you know, fuller look, like bubbly.
I honestly think that if I just filled up more and didn't get as conditioned, I would have won.
Yes.
Because when I was like, I like pulled in a lot and I was so dry and I was so conditioned and I did flatten off.
Almost too much.
Yeah, and I was like backstage, I was like, when I was in the gym the day before, and I was like, fuck me, like I literally looked like I'm about to step on a fucking.
A big factor there as well is like I talked to you about the heat. You know what I mean? If you're fucking sweating a lot more,
so like,
you haven't got the electrolytes, you haven't got the fluid in your system to take up those carbs. It's fucking difficult.
It's a hard balance, like. So I know for next time, I'm probably just gonna come in full as fuck, like. Because you're not gonna lose condition, like just by being full.
This is one of the things I'm trialing with a couple of my guys at the moment. It's literally not having that day period of flattening off.
Yeah.
So, albeit that you utilise that for like stomach volume, etc., etc., and there's a couple of other reasons behind it, but it's literally like, what's your best look?
Yeah.
And go with that. So it's like,
sorry.
So for me, it was like a week, 2 weeks after, I was full as a house, bro. And it was like, I was still as peeled as I was on stage.
It's like when I went back here.
Yeah.
Went to the gym Monday, obviously I competed Saturday, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I look like a freak, like in the best way possible. I was like, why can't I look like this on stage? It's always the way, everyone always says that, but like.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things, it's just the approach that you take when you're looking to peak, but that's just a thing in time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll wait and see what happens with the men's physique category. It's definitely probably the most controversial. But yeah, that's essentially it. That was a good bit covered.
Yeah.
John, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Right.
What a pleasure.
Next guest, who knows? Next episode, who knows? But it'll be a good one. And thanks for watching, guys. You know the usual. Like, subscribe, all that shit. Peace out.
Ciao.